All right, how we doing? Sam here with you. It's Friday. It's the middle of the day here, Friday, December 14th, and we're going to do a quick update here on Bitcoin as we're breaking through into some new levels here. So just a quick recap here as we've been through this many times. So still operating on the idea that we've got an A, B, and we're trying to finish a C down here. So if it just drawing it up here, so we're working on the idea that it's 1, 2, 3 into a triangle 4, and we're trying to come down here and finish the 5. Well, that's what we're after down here. So symmetry is not bad, right? If we can finish down here, right? Reasonable that we could finish like that. So it's getting a little tricky down here now. So if we allow for the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the assumption that's correctly identified, which remains to be seen, but it's certainly we have a technically valid, per Elliott rule set, we have a technically valid count. Now, I'm going to go from, I'm here on a 2-hour on Coinbase Pro. So let me go, I'm going to go to a 30-minute here, see if we can dig into this last leg, well, the current leg, let me say it that way. We don't know if it's the last leg. Now, interestingly, there was a very pretty, just a gorgeous set of median lines here, a little unconventional. You had to work to find it, right? So first thought is to put it here, but as you experiment, it's always a process of trying to what they use. Am I going to a modifier? But the 1, 2 caught it just perfectly, just absolutely perfectly. So again, not an easy one to spot, but one to pay attention to. So we get the reaction off of this. Well, of course, we're tagging that very long-term algo target and a median line. Up we get the reaction, but we've got more to go here. So 1, 2, 3 looks like that is the 4. So from this corner to this pivot down here, right? So right to the 50, and I'm going to take this off just to clear up the chart so it's easier for y'all to see. So we have a lower target down here per this 50. So from this 50, this is the target there. So this is from the February 18th high that we've been through many times. So breaking through that, this would be the next target. And then we have a prior swing pivot high here at 29.93 that's all the way back left to a prior pivot high on the way up. I think it was in 17. So coming down here, if this is correctly identified, so we have this, right? I went through this in the last video. So if this is our little triangle formation and we've got this correctly identified, I guess we can pull this back here. So if we have an A, B, C, D, E, now coming down, we're trying to finish in 5. Here's our 4. Can we finish in 5? Potential. We got just down here as placeholders, not necessarily a prediction on price, just got to put them somewhere. So if this is the 4, then I've got a 1, 2, pretty good looking 3. I've got so we had a little squirrely here. We've had some spiky action here that we've got to deal with this over here as well. So it looks like ABC is reasonable. This wick is a bit problematic, but coming after that, we can get ABC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like we've got a solid 4 here. Now we're trying to finish. Well, so far, we don't have the ingredients to finish just yet. So I'm going to take this off so we know this is very close to our target here. We're through the big one, right? So now let's break into this. I'm going to go to the 15-minute here to try and make sense of this of the current leg down. I got to watch my language there. May not be the current leg down per this count. If this 4 is in and we're trying to finish the 5th, well, so far we've got a decent start on it. It's technical, but so far all we've got is a zigzag. Right? So we've got a 5, 3, 5. So we can't finish with that. But now we have the possibility here that we're just going 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So, but as it sits right now, I've got 5, 3, and 5. Now we don't know that this low is in. So taking this off, right? So we've got a little problem here in that we have this wick here. We had some sort of a spike action here. So it creates a bit of a problem. The question is, what do you do with it? Well, it would change the count pretty substantially. So if this is our 1 and we're going to include this wick here, Well, so we can't have an impulse, right? So as I have, so we'd have to go one. So we'd have to go. This would have to be A, B, C into a 1. Then we'd have to go A, B. It looks like the C would have to be here because with this we're overlapping the 1, so we're changing what we're looking for, and then we'd have to go A, B, C. So that is certainly one possibility here. It doesn't change the analysis here that we've completed a one wave. Whether we're counting it as a diagonal or not, I think there's a case, there's an argument to be made that this is somewhat of an aberrant wick. So if we just think about where the body of the candle is, you could make a case here that we wouldn't change the count necessarily as a reflection on that one wick. Either way, so you can count it either way. You can go A, B, and then A, B, C, and then you'd have to have this as your 4, and then A, B, C to finish it. Either way, we get a 1. Whether you want to call it a leading diagonal or an impulse, we've got a 1, 2. Potentially a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now again, I gotta put those somewhere. So, let's go. We'll do it in blue here. Let's go up a degree. Go to micro. So if that's 1, now this 1 is no longer relative. So the assumption is, regardless of whether we're counting it as an impulse or a diagonal, I have a clean 5 count. So I have a motive wave either way. Then I've got a nice ABC, and it looks like I've got a 3, 3, 5. So pulling, if this 2 is correctly, if this is the start of our 1, excuse me, and we're through the low of the 1, well, what have we done? Just to the 50, right? So it's a strong, well, we're between the 50 and the 618. So we've got a good candidate here for the 2 of the 5th, right? 1, A, B, C into the 2. Well, this is, well, yeah, it's hard to come up with anything other than 1, 2 here. Now, look, we've just tagged that algo target from this 50 is already realized, and it's now to and through. So let's think about where we could be going. If this is 1, 2, I'm so sorry, excuse me. If that's 1, 2, sure looks like I get another 1, 2. Nice little ABC. So measuring, so as we would with any, so let's do both of them. So if this is the 1 and this is the 2, all right, well, we're yet to get 100% of the length of the 1. Now, again, as I remind you, third doesn't have to be the longest, just can't be the shortest. But for the clarity of the count here, it would appear that we're not yet done here. So this would be worth noting and wicking off regardless of what exchange you're on. If, as a contender here, this would at least qualify us for the third here, potentially to go in, creating this kind of a roadmap here, which put us down here closer to 3,000, if indeed we're done. Now, that's this 1, 2. That's just assuming we only get the 100. Now, we don't know where this bottoms. Now, but if we look at the breakdown here, right, it's unless we're going to get a very big extension in the 5th, which, to bring it down here, we change that count pretty substantially. Now, there is the possibility that we've gone 1, 2, 1, 2. That would imply much lower prices. If it's 1, 2, and this is just the 1, 2 of the third, very bearish. Well, certainly more bearish than any scenario here that would have us finishing here. Let's call it above 3,000. So 1, 2, 3. Well, we can do the same thing within this impulse as it's currently labeled. If this is 1 and this is 2, well, here's our third. So we're not right to the tick on the 1618. But interestingly, this is. I think we can confidently go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? I'm on a 15 minutes. So what do we do with that bar? Right, you're going to go down to the 1 minute to dig 5 there. I think you can go with the 3 there, and then A, B, C. We don't get a new high on the C, but the subdivision is there. A, B, C, and then we're coming down. So what would be the alternate? Right, so you got to look at it and say, well, let's assume I'm wrong. If this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 1 of 3, then we'd have 1, 2, 3 going in. I think that looks less likely until proven otherwise. I think this is a reasonable contender for that. Now we have to make this, well, pardon me. ideally, we'd make this 100%. We don't have to, because if this is correctly identified as the third, again, we can have an extension in the first. We just can't have the fifth be longer than the third. So we've got to pay attention to to that range if we get a retracement here. So if we get this kind of a retracement into a 4 and we're heading down for the 5, then we've got to pay attention to the length of this third, assuming we pivot here, which we don't know, that we're not longer in the fifth. So that's something we'd have to wick off. But right now, there's a reasonable case here that we're approaching the low here of this impulsive structure. So the other thing we can do is just grabbing, if that is correctly identified, and here's the 38. We've just, we're not quite to it. So note here the little bit of a conundrum. If we've got to get through this algo target to get to 100%. So we have a little box here where you'd anticipate at least some sort of a reaction. Excuse me. If we just cut right through it, then we're going down to the lower levels here. So here's the 2618 of this degree, and we know the negative 100 will be very close to the 1618 of the degree that's one higher, right? So of this 1-2. So it's just a function of what's the next reaction here. So very hard to dial into the low, but what we can say with a fair degree of certainty is that we're not done down here. Assuming this account, I'd be hard pressed to find a count that lets us finish down here. All right, so it just looks like 1, 2, 3 is trying to go in. So big question mark, what happens down here? And then do we get a counter trend? Do we get a 3-wave correction? So if we carry that forward and think about where that might put us, if this is the 2, and now we're just trying to put together a roadmap. If we get the 3rd down here in this range, well, then here's prime zone for our 4 right here. We've got a lot of market acceptance here. So this would not be an unreasonable spot to be looking for that 4 before we go down and finish 4 into the 5, which gives us a target of 3, well, let's round it, 3,000. 3,061 here on Coinbase Pro, but that would be the ideal scenario here for us to finish the complete count back to that structure where we started. Now, if that finishes that way, let's look at it. So you'd have this scenario. So very big 1, 2. We don't know that we finished down here, but potentially to the 38, we come down here and finish down here. So we'd end up with the 5th looking something like that. Extension in the 1. Well, this right? Do we get parity here? 4, 5, and then we're potentially now we'd have a completed Elliott count. That doesn't guarantee that we turn and we're completely done with a correction, although it creates a scenario to where that's possible. So that 3,000, that nice fat round number you see, I've got 3,025. Highlighted here to be alerted as I'm looking for additional places to buy down here. So 1, 2, of course, so we can put a set of median lines on it, as you would be surprised if I weren't. So we can do it this way and say, well, how would that all line up? If that's 1, 2 here. Well, look at that. It's kind of interesting. Look where the 100%. So if this is going to be 1, 2, so do we get... So if this is here and this is here, so here's the corner pocket already realized. So here's the pivot, right? We looked at this once, but this is slightly different. So from this corner here, 80% probability of making the median line. We've already done it, right? We already hit the, so note here, tagging the median line as we hit the algo target. So there's the 80% realized, that those odds are realized. There's the 4, potentially we're going down to tag another algo target down here, which could finish us. Could finish the 5, right? We don't know, right? There's no way to know here. But this is an area of interest because the point here is not that I'm assuming that we're going to put in a low here. It's that we've got to acknowledge that point to where the length of the 3rd gets at least 1 tick longer than the length of the 1st. So it can qualify as a 3rd. Again, it could still qualify, not be 100%, but ideally we'd want to see it get 100%. Then we know we've got a good candidate for our 3rd. Now we're looking for the 4 and the 5 to complete. So I think this is a very valid count and a set of median lines. I'd keep these on, and I intend to keep these on. So let me get this right on there. So maybe we're coming to this would not be an unreasonable spot to be looking for that. So if we look here, So from this pivot, now it's a question of where's the next, let me take that off. Where's our next pivot? We can certainly see the ingredients are here for this to be finishing. It's 1, 2, 3. Looks like this is in the process of, shit, I hate to do this, but even if I go down to a 5 minute. 1, 2, yeah. Well, this is not gorgeous here. Looks like we can go 1, 2, 1, 2. See, you know, that's a little problematic. That's why I don't like going down to the 5 minute here. You just get caught in trying to get a count here. So if this is the 1, this is the 2, 3, A, B. So we end up with, perhaps we've got a triangle here. So looking like we could do it this way. Something along these lines here. So we get this, which not unlike what happened before we went down that last triangle. So if this is our 4 here, can we go 1, 2, 3? This looks 4-ish, right? This kind of hesitation, some sort of a triangle. Looks like 1 potentially now. One more good push. Now could be all the way down here. We don't know. Again, this is only identified as the 100 at the point of equaling 100% the length of the one wave. This is a little problematic because it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'd have to go 1. Let's just try and see if we can get that sorted. Right, that'll bug me if we can't. So if that's the 1, 2, well, you could go. So you can't do it as a diagonal because we don't overlap. So you'd have to go 3, 4, 5. That's not a great solution there. So you 1, 2, 1, 2. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So boy, there's not a good way to do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So unless, so we could do it. Actually, we could do it this way. So if this here, if this is the 1, if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's just think about that. So maybe I have this wrong. So I'm just over. So I'm down here in a 5 minute where I rarely go. So we could have A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. All right. So I'm going to look at an alternate here on the fly. So that's not necessarily good news for bulls. Okay. So let me pull that off. So if that's what we're forced to do, so we have to get the overlap. So if this is A, B, C into the 1. Boy, barely digging out an ABC, but it's just barely there. And this is our 3. So again, just checking this. If this is 1, 2, right? We get 1, 2, 7, 2. Here's the easy overlap. So we could look here for the length of the. Well, let's look at it this way here. So from this pivot, if this is here, right, we're looking for a 50 on the 4. We get that. We get 2 and through. So this potentially now, this is an alternate that's not going to be as friendly to bulls. So that would mean, so let me take this down here a degree. Let's go sub-micro on that. So let's look at an alternate. So first assumption always should be, let's assume I'm wrong. And that's a safe place to start. So if this is the 1, then we've got to, well, then we'd have to go A, B, C into the 2 because we cannot have a triangle in the second. So we'd be in the process. This would have to be the A, B, C. Yeah, it has to be. So we can't have this. We can't have an A, B, C, D, E in the second. So this would have to be our 2. So it would have to be 1. Let me change that degree. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get that up a degree. Let's go to white. Okay, so let's think about that. If that's A, B, C into the 2, got to have the 2 here. So then we've got to go 1. We got to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So potentially 3 going in here. So that sets up the 4. Potentially the 5 down here. So now we're trying to do it this way. Pull that off here. So let's zoom back. Boy, I hate coming down to the 5 minute. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's look at it. All right, on the assumption that count is wrong and we're going lower. Okay, 1, 2. Well, 3 is going to be much lower, right? If that's the case, we're going to be much lower on the 3, 4, and 5. All right, so this not as relevant to this alternate count. So if this coming from, so see what we have here, 1, 2, 1, 2, we're in the process of the third. So if we measure that out, 1, 2, we've got 1, 2 in, 3 is going, so that would mean we'd be looking at it this way. 1, got to have a shallow 2, right? So it's not my preferred count, but when I went to that 5 minute, gotta consider it here. So 1, 1, 2. So we got to. So I'm gonna take this off just to clear up the chart. So if that's 1, 2, then we're allowing for a very shallow 2. If that's the 1. It's not like we've never seen it before, but it wouldn't be your first choice in terms of trying to identify where we are on the count. This is just a straight push up. So to get 3, we've got to go with that. So we'd have to go with an ABC, a truncated 2. Now we're in the process of trying to put in the 3. Here's 100%. If we got that, 3, 4, 5. Now we're down here. It's not that much further off. But so question is, where's the 3? So if the 3 is coming down here, if we're going to get a traditional 3, then all of this is going much lower, and now we're down in the $2,700, $2,600 range. So to finish that, right, so this would be the 4, the 5 would be down here. All of this is going to go lower. All of this going lower. So here would be some sort of a 4, 5. So that roadmap for this fifth, so let's put the whole thing together and see if we prefer this to the other. So we'd have to be going 1, 2, 3, A, B, C for the 4, and then down for the 5. Okay, so that means what that's going to look like is this, which is not. So the weakness in this count is the shallowness of the 2, and that we'd have, this is free drawn, so there's no. Have something like this. So we might have simple, complex little alternation here of how we count that. So this is the problem area. The 2 is problematic, and the 1 is very non-traditional, right? So how else are we going to count that? You can't. It's not there. I just was trying to do that to get 1, 2. It's just not there. I can't get, as you saw, I can't get that 1 to work. How else are we going to count that? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't then see So boy, there's just maybe not to be completely changing on the fly repeatedly, but so now I'm on a 5 minute, right? How do we get a 1 out of that? I mean, it's just you kind of. Well, it went straight. Okay, so we certainly can't get a motive wave. And out here we go to a 1 minute. It's not going to look much better. I mean, 1, 2, 1, 2. See, so if that's 1, 2, you don't have enough subdivision here. You'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 3, 4, and then you're still finishing in the same spot. So this, I guess, if you're going to allow for this. I refuse to go to the 1 minute. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Do we have enough there? So if this is 1 and this is 2, yeah, we do. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 3. 2, 3, 4. Again, it's kind of the same problem here. If you're going 1, 2, 3, is there enough there to call that a 3? Kind of a judgment call. As to where the symmetry looks better, except look at what you've got in the fifth. And you can't put the 1 here. It just doesn't finish. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've only got 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. This is correcting something. I can't get the 1 here. It just doesn't work. That was the first count. So if this is 1, 2, 3, that looks more like a 3. This looks more like a 4. Ah, darn it. Let's try the. Not going to the 1 minute. Just refuse to do it. Okay, so let's see. Can I get it in here? It's not to be doing this, taking advantage of your time as you're watching here, but here's the reality of it, right? So number 1, I do these on the fly so you can get that thought process. So can we, even here at a 3 minute, best case, it looks like an ABC. So if we go ABC, ABC on the 3 minute, this can't be the 4. I don't get the overlap. So here, this is the problem spot here. So there's, boy, you just can't get, shit, I said I wasn't going to do it, and here I am. Can you, let's get over here. See if I can crunch this up. Is it there on the 1? I'm on the 1 minute now. So let's, can I zoom in here? Is there a 1 in there? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C. All right, it doesn't work. So so maybe you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, but I've got an A, B, C to finish. Just so it plays better as this, as an A, B, C. All right, so then I can at least go A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. I got nowhere else to go. Right, so I'm at a 1 minute. And so then I'd have to go A, B, C. So this still looks better as the 2. This still looks better as a 1, 2 into the 3, 4, going down for the, well, this would be our 5 here. This would be the 2. So let's, shit, now I'm losing track of where we are. So now I'm going to go back to the 5 minute. At this point, I'm assuming most of you have already bailed. Okay, ABC looks better here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 1. That still looks like the better count because I can definitely get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC. All right, so it can't have a triangle in the second. Well, there, ABC in the 2. So what does that leave for? So it means we'd be putting in the 3. So if I go back to the 15 minute, all right, how long am I? Shit, 26 minutes. Okay, well, members probably be watching. YouTubers probably bailed 10 minutes ago. 1, 2. Man, that is hard to get that out. Okay, so from here, we'd have to go 1, 2, 3 still going in. Because no matter how we slice this, no, that's way too big. Let's get that. We're going to go all the way to minuscule. Okay, this looks A, B, C, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1. A, B, already got a problem here because we've got to allow for a truncated C, which we don't love. But, weak market. Okay, all right, I can live with that. So there's the 1, 2, 1, 2, meaning that 1 is to get 100% of the length of that 1. There's the 2. We got to go all the way down here, right? So that's consistent with what we were looking at before. 4 and 5. So what is that completing? That's just completing a 3. Ah, shit. Come here. Least favorite feature of TradingView. All right, let's go to subminuet. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would complete the third. Then we got the 4 to come. Then we got the 5, and potentially we're done. Okay, so where would that put us? Let me put the whole thing back together. See about any sort of target we can get down here. So 3, 4, 5. Now we're down here at 27, 20. I'm sort of eyeballing here. So if we look this way, let's go back a degree. If this is 1, come here. 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Just the 1, 2 is in of the third. So this 1, 2 would suggest this third here, this 4 here, 5 coming down here. So can we finish this third, this fourth, and this fifth to get here? And this would go here. Then all of this is moving over, putting us all down here, 2,700. So the roadmap here, if I draw it for you, so from this 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. So this 1, 2, 3, 5. So we've got to get 3, 4, 5, something along these lines. A, B, C into the 4. Okay, so there, that would finish us. So putting that all back together, so coming all the way back to this 4 where we started down here to this 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're looking at an extension in the 5th. So that symmetry is not gorgeous. Let's look at that. So this would look, let me pull this off. So we'd have this to finish it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a big 5, right? Big 5 to finish it. I suppose it's not crazy. You think about where it could be going. So here's the 50. We don't have to go down here. Something like this is reasonable. There's 29, 3,000. It's possible. So if we put that back on here, well, that's what I'm trying to do. Let's put it back on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is going to take more time if that's going over there. So there's your symmetry. So from my 2 to my 3, here's the 4. We're going to be through to finish here per that count we just worked through. We're looking at second algo target as a semi-reasonable, and then we could do it this way. We could take the length of the 1, project from the 4. What's down here? 200% the length of the 1. Not crazy. We could also do it this way. We could take the length of the 1 through 3. Just looking for some symmetry, some confluence down here. 1 through the 3, projected from the 4. Well, here's 100%. Now I've got something I can work with. So we get some confluence down here in this zone here. So let's call that 2,700. Looks like a reasonable target. So now coming down here, you've got, well, you can put median lines on here, but certainly there's a channel that we'd work in, right? Something like that. All right. So if we're going to finish down here, these are all reasonable targets here. We're just trying to get a count that finishes. And right now, I don't see any solution to finish this other than 1, 2. Well, let me say it this way: more downside. We are not at a low here. This will be an area of interest here just because it's an algo target. But if anything, maybe we get the 3 here of this count. 3, 4, and 5. So because we're still trying to put in the 3 of this 1, 2, 3 going in, 4 over to the edge of the channel. That would make sense. And then finishing down here, 26, 29. We'll call for rounding. Let's call it 2,700. All right, guys, that was a bit painful. Sorry to drag you through that, but hopefully that process of correcting on the fly is very much what you'll be going through. I would encourage you guys to try and do this on your own. Right? So if you watch this, stop it, turn it off. Your retention will be less than you think, right? So we pull up a blank chart and just try and work through it. See what you come up with. I'd be interested if you come up with something different. This area here is very problematic, right? You saw me struggle with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like that's just the 1 going in. Difficult to get another count that works there, right? To accommodate either a diagonal or an impulse. So tricky one, right? Nothing new in Bitcoin. It's going to be tricky. So that's what I see, guys. All right, I've rambled long enough. All right, so hopefully that gives you some help. Now, my partner will, I will not be here on Monday. I've got some things I've got to do, but my partner, if you're on YouTube here, will be doing a pretty detailed update with his views on Bitcoin. All right, so you can look forward to that. Members, you already know about that, so you'll get access to that early on, and we'll do a version for YouTube as well. All right, guys, with that, I'll wrap it. You guys have a good weekend. Always remember you can connect with us and learn more about what we offer if you're interested in this methodology and how to master it. You always learn more over on our website, tradedevils.com. There's links directly underneath this video. All right, guys, have a good weekend.